Homage to the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. Iti piso bhagava arihang samma sambuddho vijjacharana sampanno sugato lokavidu anuttaro purisa dhamma sarati satta deva manussanam Buddho Bhagavati Swagato Bhagavata Dhammo Samdittiko Akaliko Ehi Passiko Opanayiko Panchatang Veditabbo Vinyuhiti Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Ujjupatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Nyayapatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Samici patipanno bhagavato savaka sangho yadidam chattari purisa yogani atta purisa punggala esa bhagavato savaka sangho Ahuniyo pahuniyo dakiniyo anjali karaniyo anuttarang punyak khitang lokasati sadhu sadhu sadhu.
Thank you, Bhante, for leading us in the opening puja. And before we begin, allow me to introduce our esteemed speaker for this evening. So Bhante Dr. S. Pemarathana serves as the Chief Abbot of the Pittsburgh Buddhist Center in the United States. Born in Sri Lanka, Bhante completed his undergraduate studies at the University of Peradeniya and earned a master's degree in philosophy from the National University of Singapore. After moving to the United States in 2008, Bhante pursued doctoral studies at the University of Pittsburgh, where he obtained his PhD in religious studies. Bhante now serves as a lecturer at the Carnegie Mellon University, teaching courses on Asian religions and Buddhism and modernity. Deeply committed to his monastic vocation, Bhante Dr. Pemarathana offers guidance to a growing number of Americans interested in Buddhism and meditation, offering regular meditation sessions and Buddhism classes. In Sri Lanka, Bhante actively supports his home monastery's Social Welfare Foundation, which operates 2 orphanages for boys and girls and administers a scholarship program for students from low-income families. Thank you very much, Bhante, once again for accepting our invitation to share the teachings out of compassion for us. And we shall now request a Dhamma discourse respectfully from Bhante.
Thank you, sister. Namo Buddhaya, and dear friends in the Dhamma. I'm so glad that this time also I was able to come and give a Dhamma talk at BGF. And then I send a list of topics to Brother Bobby, and then he's the one who selected this topic. So if you find anything problematic with this topic, he has to blame him. Yeah, but I don't know, because there was few other topics. I don't know whether the reason that you selected this topic on family and friends, is caring for family and friends without attachment. So I don't know whether you selected that topic because Chinese New Year is coming very soon, so you get to deal with your family and friends. But anyway, it is a recurrent, very relevant, issue in our life, that we all are born into a family, and then we also build a network or relationships with our friends, and therefore living, with our family, and particularly, we have to care for our family. We really have to support our family. We have to maintain a very good, lovely, warm relationships with our family. But at the same time, we can that the same loving and caring and warm relationships can also be an hindrance, can also be a source of suffering to us. And very family that really support us, very family members that we really have deep connection with, and then sometime if we do not know exactly how to maintain these relationships, and those very relationships that allow us to be kind and loving can be occasions where we experience pain and suffering and hurt. If I ask you, if you think about your happiest moments in your life, and then and the most memorable, times in your life, definitely those moments and moments have family members. Maybe whenever time that you receive such a great care and maybe special gift or love from your family members, could be from your parents, could be from your siblings and from your children. So the memorable and the happiest moments in your life are related to mostly to your family and sometimes to friends. But if you ask the other question, what is the most hurtful moments in your life? The moments that you feel so painful and so difficult to be with, and all these, the negative and difficult and painful, hurtful moments you had in your life. If you think about that, those things are also related to the moments and experiences, interactions we had with our family members. So our family members make us so happy, so joyful. At the same time, they can also very easily can hurt us too. Or we can also bring so much joy and happiness to our family members, and we can also bring so much hurtful feelings to them too. It's a very delicate relationship, right? So therefore, we really have to be very skillful in handling this. And if you keep away from our family, and if you do not have a strong bond and connection, and that's also not healthy, and we will be away from family, and we will not have a good support and good sense of stability and belonging. And if you're too close to a family, and then again is inviting more troubles and more pain and problems. So how we can maintain that? And Buddha gave a very interesting simile in the sutta called Upati Sutta, which is found in the Udana section. And he said that an insect, insects, if they like lights, they like flames. What you call them? Those insects, like fireflies, yeah, or moth, yes, fire, flying flies. Okay, firefly. Okay, firefly. Yes, and those firefly, if they are too away from the flame, they are very cold. They are uncomfortable. And if they are too close to the flame, they get burned and hurt. And if they know exactly to be close enough, if they can be around that fire, not too far but not too close, they'll be able to enjoy the warmth in that fire flame. And Buddha said that in most cases, many moth, yeah. Moth, yeah, moth. Okay, okay. Light, yeah. So maybe moth. Anyway, let's say any bugs or insects. Yeah. So Buddha said that in most cases, these creatures go too close to that fire and they get burned. And none of these insects or moth want to get burned. They just want warmth, but they don't know the limit. And they just go too far. And as a result, they get burned. I think that is exactly what is happening in our families and in our friends. And that is how we get hurt, that is how we get into troubles. And therefore, we really have to have a good, training and good mindfulness and training exactly how we can handle this special relationship, very delicate relationships with our family and friends. And when you think about the life of the Buddha, when you think about life of the Buddha and the most help that Buddha got in his life, you can think about who helped the Buddha most. What do you think? Based on your knowledge of the life of the Buddha, who helped the Buddha most? Yes, I'm very impressed with your knowledge of the life of the Buddha. So BGF has done a good job in educating its members. Yeah. So when Venerable Ananda was his personal attendant and supported him and was helped him in so many ways. So who is Venerable Ananda? His cousins. Yeah, his cousin. His fraternal uncle's son. Son of his fraternal uncle. That is cousin. So the most help, support he got in his life is from his family. Okay, how about the troubles? Who troubled the Buddha most? Yes, Devadatta is the one who gave so much troubles to the Buddha. The kind of troubles he gave to the Buddha, we cannot imagine, right? I mean, of course, initially he didn't really mean to give troubles to the Buddha, but after Buddha returned to his hometown, when he shared his teaching with his, youthful, family members, their cousins, and they really got this teaching. Yeah, this is so important. This is the best way to live our life. And spending this life to seek power, seek wealth is not really ultimately satisfying. So let's start this journey. So many of his cousins, many of his, other his colleagues, become his disciples. So Devadatta, who was also another cousin, actually his brother-in-law, his in-law. Yeah. So don't think about it. So he's in-law. So brother-in-law. So brother-in-law. So again, you can see, even in his own life, the most support to Buddha's mission came from his family. And the most trouble to his mission also came from his family. So don't be disappointed and upset, about your own family. even Buddha had the same thing. The both support and the troubles and challenges. And so Venerable Devadatta initially wanted to practice with the Buddha, but eventually he thought that because the Prince Siddhartha was very close to him when they were growing up, and he thought that after he became a disciple, Buddha would, give him more responsibility to govern or
rule, administer the monks, and that was his goal. But the Buddha had a different plan. Buddha was more giving more responsibility to the monks who have more skills. He didn't look for his family relationships. He looked for abilities. So therefore, he gave Venerable Sariputta and Venerable Moggallana as more like a chief two disciples. But anyway, as a result, he started to give a lot of troubles to the Buddha. And even to the point that he even attempted to kill Buddha a few times, even like rolling a big boulder, a big rock towards the Buddha. And if you travel to India, if you go to Vulture's Peak, and so Buddha was doing his walking meditation below the rock, and he was on the top and rolled a boulder to the Buddha. So he became, of course. So anyway, so this common, common experience we all have with our family. So therefore, today I would like to discuss with you what are the guidelines, what are the techniques we can use to handle this special relationship, and how we can have the warmth and not get burned, and then maintain our relationships. So for that, I think we can have a number of guidance. And sometimes we may think that our family relationships, is it can be like a burden to our spiritual practice, and because we as monks we have renounced, right? And so the ideal of Dharma practice is mostly renunciation or renounce, and so therefore we may have an idea that our family is a burden to our spiritual practice. What do you think? Do you think that your family is a burden to your spiritual practice? Yeah. Make sure that you are if you have come with your family members, be mindful. You have to go home today. Yeah. But anyway, when you think about the Buddha himself, and of course, after he attained enlightenment, he doesn't really belong to any family. Becoming enlightened is actually going beyond all forms of identification, all forms of categories. Even becoming enlightened is actually even going beyond gender. When someone is enlightened, you cannot really call that person a male or female, because they actually go beyond that tendencies that are unique to each categories. So they even transcend gender. And of course, any enlightened being even transcend the family relationship. But when you think about the life of the Buddha in a conventional level, and many people think that Prince Siddhartha left his family, like run away. And people, that's the story you read, right? And when Prince Siddhartha, he ran away from his family and he left the family. That poor Yashodhara and that poor baby, who can leave the baby with the wife, and that's how people think about Prince Siddhartha. And of course, when you look at that whole thing from the conventional wisdom, we find it irresponsible. But I think the Yashodhara and Prince Siddhartha had the agreement, and how they look for spiritual practice. But of course, the Prince Siddhartha renunciation is actually his great love and compassion even beyond his own family. The compassion and love for the whole humanity. But anyway, even in the conventional level, many people stop the story. They are thinking that Prince Siddhartha left his family. But many people forget, and particularly he left his son. But many people forget the fact that within the first year of the enlightenment, even before 1 year passed, Buddha returned home. The next full moon day, the March full moon day, marks the return of the Buddha to his hometown after his enlightenment. How many months after the enlightenment? He was enlightened in the month of Vesak, it's May. So he returned home in the month of March. How many months? Yeah, less than 10, 9, yeah. So even before a year passed, I mean, you have to think about, this is not like, going to the next village. This is like hundreds and hundreds of miles, because as Prince Siddhartha, left further away from his kingdom, because he doesn't want to be a bother, because he's a heir to the throne. So he went to further away to the more western side of the continent. But his own kingdom is more to the eastern side, more to the north. So it took him 9 months to gradually start his mission and keep teaching and training disciples. It took him 9 months all the way. But within the first year he returned home, and then he shared the Dhamma with others. And first thing happened in that journey, that Yashodhara, who has been taking care of the son for that first 7 years, 6+ years, handed over the son to the father, of now the former father, the Buddha. And then Buddha took the custody of Rahula at the age of 7. And after that, who raised Rahula? The Buddha. And because he became a novice monk, and so he didn't live in the palace, he didn't live in the Kapilavastu, he lived with the Buddha, wherever Buddha travels, and Buddha actually gave the responsibility mainly to Venerable Sariputta to make sure his education, Dhamma learning is there, but Buddha was there. So Buddha took good care of him and trained him, and we have at least 3 suttas. We can find the references how Buddha trained his own son, when he was a small little boy monk, and how he trained him using the examples of water. And when he was a little teenager, how Buddha trained him with more guided meditation and instruction. And then we also have the third discourse when he's like mid-20s, where he actually attained the enlightenment, his last sermon, last instruction given to him. So Buddha raised his own son from the age of 7. So he didn't really leave his family. And then what happened to Yashodhara? And became one of his key female disciples. And his foster mother became the first nun. And Buddha did not really leave the family, even in the conventional sense. I mean, he was away for 6 years. That is like he went for an assignment. And then, then he came back and they were reunited, but not as a conventional family. And so now, can you say that your family is a burden for your spiritual growth now? We can make our families a burden, but family itself may not really be the burden. It's how we relate to the family, how we, handle this family relationship is the key here. So Buddha was able to raise his own son to be an enlightened disciple, enlightened man. So therefore, I think here we need to think about, how we can make use of our family, how we can manage our family relationship. So I would like to give you a few guidelines to maintain this. First one, I would say, we had to look at our family members not from the perspective of this present life. Right now, we have husbands and wives, we have our mother and father, we have our children, we have all other relatives. But that role that these people are playing is only how they are related to us in this lifetime. We had to look at our family members from the perspective of samsaric journey. If you look at our family members from the perspective of samsaric journey, and in this life they are your parents, in this life they are your children, but that doesn't mean that they were the same in the previous lives. And so what we have to think that these family members that we are living with are individual samsaric beings going on a personal journey, then happen to come into our life, in this life, and now we are in this relationship. And when this life is gone, they will go their journey and I will go my journey. So we are like temporary, passengers that happen to go on a journey in the same bus for a while. So when you look at our family members in that perspective, we give them some kind of independence. We give them some kind of respect, because otherwise we may think that, oh, he's my son, he's my daughter, he should do the things as I want him to do, because we think in that way. But all of us are individual beings, wandering or in the samsara until we attain enlightenment. And in this life, we happen to make this relationship. But that doesn't mean that they are completely strangers. The reason that we are a family in this life, we come into relationship in this life, could have been that we have some affinity from previous lives. But it doesn't mean that exactly our former wife of our former life is the same wife that we are having right now. No. Our parents in our present life are our parents in the last life. No. But we were we were known to each other. That is why we feel, we are attracted to that. The reason that we were attracted to our mother's womb rather than someone else's womb could have been, our some kind of connection that we had. We felt comfortable to be attached to that womb than other wombs. There's a karmic connection to our families. But our relationships were not the same. So therefore, when you think about our family members from that perspective of sansaric journey, and then we tend to give more respect and more independence to our family members, and then also think about and then no matter what we do in our life, and we will depart, and then we may meet in our sansaric life, but not in the same way. Think about if we had the previous life. Think about your children in the previous life, and do you think about them now? Do you think about your children of your previous life? Do you think about your wife or husband in your previous life? You don't care. Do you think that you will care in your next life? Do you care? Do you care of your husband in your next life? Or do you care of your wife? Or will you care of your current children in your next life? You will not care. Right? And that is this journey. It's very, very interesting journey. If we had our previous life, we had very strong bond with our previous family members. We dedicated so much to our children. We cared so much for our children last life. But when we have this new life, we don't have any memory. We don't care much about them. And same thing will happen next life too. Even our own children will not care about us too. So when we think like that, so they can kind of give us some guidance how to interact and how to treat these, our family members, and then we will treat them the best way we can. And this life, these people came to my life, that I have a responsibility, do my best even to our own children, do my best to make sure that I give them the best love, but we will live one day, and we may be reconnected in another life, but a whole different ways. So in that way, we will treat them as individual being, and particularly this is so important a thing in terms of our children, because when we have children, because we as parents, we feel like we bring them to this world, but actually they are the one who came to this world through us. We didn't really produce them. Of course, we produce their bodies. They came to this world and through us. They just use us as vehicles. We didn't bring them, and sometimes children, we have to say that you came to this world through me. You used me as a vehicle to come here. Yeah. So therefore, they are individual beings. We should do whatever best we can, and they have their own karmic baggage they come with. And therefore, we should do our best, but we really cannot completely control or determine, what's going to be their future. We are responsible to some extent for their upbringing, but we cannot be fully responsible for the kind of life that they may have. Because the current life is only a very small portion of a long sansaric journey. So therefore, we are responsible to some extent, but we are not fully responsible for the kind of life they are going to have. So we can relax. But that is, and we still feel responsible to some level, but not fully responsible. That's one, guidance, and I can, give you. So the kind of, to maintain this healthy relationship with our family and treating each and everyone as very, respectful beings that happen to come to my life in this life, but they are individual beings, their own karmic baggage, their own tendencies, with their own habits, and we are connected, but we are not. We don't own each other. We don't own each other. You never own your husband, you never own your wife, and you never own your children or parents, and we are just helping each other. So that's first guidance. And the second one is actually to understand the difference between love and attachment. This is very challenging for human beings to understand the difference between love and attachment. Because our normal understanding, we think that love means attached. And we think that more we attached, more we grasp, more we bonded, and that is the love. And that's how we usually understand the love. But in Buddhist understanding, we talk about, we have different terms to refer to different mental states that may be similar to similar, but for example, we have this term metta that we use, and usually we translate that metta as loving kindness. But there are other forms of love that we talk about. When we are in the family, we have affection to each other. We have this bonding to each other, and among partners we have this romantic relationship. So in Pali language, we have different terms to refer to different forms of connection, different forms of love. In English, we use the term love. It's very broad, doesn't mean much. I remember one of my colleagues in the university, and one day he told me that I love fish. And then I thought that maybe he's really love fish. He may have a fish tank in his room. So I asked him, what kind of fish do you like? What is that yellow fish? Yeah, I asked, do you have goldfish? What? Oh, no. I like to eat fish. So when you say I love fish, it's very vague. We don't know whether you mean really, truly like metta, or whether you really like to enjoy. So the term love can be very broad. It doesn't really help us to understand. But in Pali, for example, my name is Pemarathana, right? So the term Pema means actually affection. It's not as noble as metta. It's the affection. And then we also have sineha, which also means, similar, more like romantic, kind of bonding. So in my case, Pemarathana, Ratana means triple gem. So my master gave me this name. Of course, I was born with a different name. My birth certificate has my lay name. But when you become a monk, you renounce your family name and your lay name, and you get a Dhamma name with a village in Sri Lanka. So my name is Pemarathana. My master gave me this name that I have an affection for triple gem. But the more refined form of love is metta. So therefore, to understand difference between the true love and attachment is so important. So one important difference here is actually the attach. Whenever we attach to someone, we think that we love, but actually the attachment has this element of ownership, and then also the element of control. When you are attached to someone or something, you have a sense of ownership. You feel like I own this, and then also you feel like controlling it and managing it, controlling it. But the true love is different. True love is a genuine interest in the happiness and well-being of the other person, and then but doesn't have a sense of owning that person. So it's an interesting relationship, right? So and then let's say if we have a genuine interest of the other person's happiness and well-being. If that person's happiness and well-being involves me, then I'm okay, I will be. But if that person's happiness and well-being does not involve me, I'm still okay with that. So that's the difference between, love and attachment. Therefore, we falsely think that more we attach, more we love, but actually that's not true love. And that kind of, love, that attached kind of love is quite, painful for the person who's being loved too. Because, we always try to control. We try to feel like we own the person, and the other person also feel obliged. And then that's not relaxed kind of relationship. And in the attachment relationship, we are not relaxed. We are always, have tension to make sure that I want to behave in a way that other person is always pleased. And there's also tension but the true love, we are quite relaxed. And we only want the happiness and well-being of the other person. And then we are willing to do any sacrifice for that, but we don't necessarily, want to control or and own that person. So that's a simile given by the Buddha in this. He talks about little birds. When you have little bird, if you hold that bird too tight, that bird will get hurt. And maybe we have other simile, not from the Buddhist source, the butterfly. But what we find in the Buddhist sources is the small bird. When you hold it too tight, it will hurt. But if you just simply keep it loose, it will fly away too. The same with the butterfly, right? And if you too tight, so sometimes, in love, we think that the more we protect, more we hold, more we attach, more we and hold that person, grasp that person, we think that we protect that person, we love that person. But in reality, we are actually giving so much stress, so much pain to that person by being too much attached, too much controlling, too much looking after, too much checking, all the time. Are you here? Are you there? Did you? And that is what I do, try to hold the butterfly too tight. But complete ignoring the person is also not the way. So it's like we have to hold that butterfly, with sense of protection, sense of care, some kind of protection, not too tight, not too loose, but that middle path. So we had to understand the difference between love and attachment. So that is that way. So we have to ask all the time, whenever we are in a relationship with our family members and friends, we have to be mindful. Am I, inserting any sense of ownership and any sense of control here, and then am I controlling this? Try to control this person, try to grasp that this person too much. We have to ask that question and always try to come to balance. Of course, none of our relationships are perfect at the beginning. We may start with attachment, definitely. Of course, our romantic relationship start with attachment. We are attracted to each other, we attach to each other, we are bonded to each other, and so that's how we start our relationship. But then we can gradually make the relationship more mature, and move from, like a transit, evolve from that attachment, that grasping, to more of giving a little bit more freedom. And even I think usually when the married couples come to receive blessings, the one important advice I give them, I know that you love each other, that's why you got married, so I don't have to ask you to love each other, right? But I would say that if you really want to maintain this marriage, make sure that you respect each other. Respect each other. So when you respect each other, you respect other person's preferences, other person's biases, other person's choices, and other person's way of life. Because other person's upbringing, it has a whole different way of looking at things. You respect that. And you also have a respect to that person as an individual being. Sansara is not like my partner, it's not really yours. Right? So respecting is the way to move away from attachment to love. So so therefore we have to evolve. So you can start with a very attached kind of naive kind of relationship, and then we have to grow beyond that and develop a more respect to each other, and then transform it to a more genuine love. So that will be the second tip and second guidance, second guidelines. Third one, when you think about metta, always metta is explained in the Buddhist sources together with other three virtues in our life. We call Brahma Viharas. So whenever the Buddha talks about metta, he always talks about karuna, compassion, mudita, sympathetic joy, and upekkha. Those four comes as a group all the time. So therefore, when it comes to relationship, I think we have to practice all four. Not only metta, but also karuna, compassion, and also mudita, sympathetic joy. But importantly, upekkha. I think that we haven't really understood and we haven't emphasized enough the value of upekkha when it comes to relationship. Of course, metta is genuine wish of well-being, genuine interest and genuine willingness in the happiness and well-being of the other person is metta, friendliness, benevolence. And karuna is the compassion. That means whenever you see suffering in someone's life, and then we feel empathy, we feel, want to relieve that suffering, and we want to help that person to get rid of that suffering. So that empathy, that feeling of that suffering is compassion. And mudita is whenever you see happiness of other person, and then you rejoice that happiness, you approve that happiness, and you wish that happiness to continue, and that is mudita. And upekkha is equanimity or balance of the mind. That is the most stable virtue here. Upekkha means actually upekkha is a quality that we get as a result of deep understanding. Just because we wish well-being, we have a deep interest and willingness for the happiness and well-being of the other person, doesn't mean that other person will always be well and happy. And just because we have a deep interest and we try to help the other person to get rid of that suffering, whatever he's going through, it doesn't mean that necessarily that person will be free from suffering. There's always a limit what we can do. We really want other people, beings to be free from suffering. We will do our best. We will make sure that we don't add any more suffering to them. But we have always a limit how much help we can do to others. So we want to help others, but our help is always limited because each one has their own journey and each one has their own karmic baggage, as I mentioned earlier. Therefore, there's always a limitation. So upekkha is understanding and accepting the limitations of the help we can do to others. And understanding that everything is impermanent, and no matter how much we love, how much we help, we cannot stop anyone from dying. We cannot stop anyone from growing old. So if someone is getting old and getting into suffering, doesn't mean that I have lack of compassion. I do my best, but I may not be able to stop that process from happening. That's a whole natural process of impermanence. That's a natural process of change, and also the influence of the karma of each individual person. So upekkha is the acceptance and come into the equanimity with the understanding of the limitation of the help we can do. So if we don't have equanimity, we'll be very exhausted trying to help. And we know that how many times we try to help our family members and they don't want help. And then we get exhausted, we get angry. But if you have equanimity, you will not get angry. So therefore, I think with regard to family members, we should practice more equanimity together with other three qualities. And that can also help us to maintain more healthy relationship. And that means that we are always ready to offer any help, any support, but we don't try to control. We don't try to influence. We don't try to really go beyond our limitation. We maintain some kind of boundaries, and then are always available. No matter and then but we don't try to go beyond that. But whenever they are ready, we are ready to help. And And so that is equanimity. That is so helpful. The other one that we can help with regard to this the relationship is understanding that all people, all beings in the world, is a package of good and bad qualities. No one is completely good until that person attains enlightenment. And no one is completely bad, as long as we are in the realms other than hell. Because in all other realms, we have both qualities, both good qualities and bad qualities. So therefore, we need to understand every person as a package. And therefore, when we interact, when we maintain our relationship with others, we have to think about whenever we see weaknesses and bad habits and bad qualities, whatever things that really hurt us and disturb us, we should think that this person also has some other good qualities. So whenever we already clearly notice any bad qualities, that person is not grateful, that person does not recognize, doesn't appreciate my help. Maybe that may be one bad quality in that person, but that doesn't mean that it's completely bad. So there can be some other good qualities in that person. So therefore, we have to pay attention and purposely think about good qualities. I have counsel. I have helped so many people when they come to me and talk about the hurt they got from the family members, or sometimes their best friend. And then so they report me, what kind of things that person has done to them, sometimes stealing their money, or sometimes, ignoring to help when they really need the help, and those things. So when in that occasions, I ask them, okay, this is so bad, this person really hurt you. But I ask, is that all that person has done to you in your many years of relationship? Is that all that person has done to you? So I asked them to think about your previous interactions. So in most of the cases, those people who have done some harm or hurt to others, maybe many years ago, they have done so much help. They have done some sacrifices for us. So we can think about this whole picture of the person. So we tend to focus more on the negative parts and kind of ignore on the positive parts. So therefore, when it comes to family members and friends, thinking that every person is a package, both good and bad qualities, and then whenever we notice bad qualities, okay, we know that okay, he's still a putujjana, the ordinary being, but he also has some good qualities. Let me think about that good qualities. And whenever you yourself focus or think about that, whatever good qualities that person has, sometimes some people are very sharp in their mouth. They're too direct sometimes, too critical. They don't really, they're sensitive to other people feel. They comment too sharp. They say things that's so hurtful. That will be bad quality. But sometimes those people who are too sharp in their mouth also quite responsible when it comes to their role and their duty. That they take their duty very, very seriously. They perform their duty very seriously, but in the mouth they are very sharp. What to do? So you have to accept both parts. You cannot remove one part and take on the other part. So you appreciate the good part. You think about the good part. Whenever you want to approach that person, when you're going to talk to that person, take a moment to think about the good part of that person, good quality of that person, and then go to talk to that person, and you will see a difference in your relationship. The other person will react differently. That way we can maintain a good relationship. I would like to conclude with a short story. Have you heard that story of the Chinese farmer who had to carry water to the top of the mountain? Ancient time, we didn't have running water. Right? This is a Chinese farmer who lived in the top of a hill. So he has to carry water every day from the well at the bottom of the mountain. So he used 2 pots to carry that water. So, but later he realized that one pot has some crack, is leaking. But he continued to use the 2 pots. Every day he will carry that water from the bottom of the mountain to the top. By the time he reached the top and the pot with the crack has only half of the water left. So one day his friend came and noticed that he's carrying these two pots. One is already leaking, and he asked why you are carrying this pot with a crack? It's leaking. And he said, okay, I know that. And he said that can you also look at the path that I'm carrying this water. And he noticed that the steps this path is coming out has flowers in both sides. He said that I knew that pot has a crack. So instead of throwing away what I did, I accepted. I planted seeds of flowers along this the path. So whenever I carry this pot with the crack, the water will be leaked, but it will water the plants. Now the path that I walk every day back and forth is full of flowers. So he utilized that pot with the crack to his his own good well-being. I think most of us have cracks in our life. And I mean, when we deal with people, we cannot expect everyone to be perfect. There's always some weakness, always some defect. We ourselves are also the same. Our spiritual practice is to recognize our own defects and gradually do practices to remove from that, and then be perfect personality when you attain enlightenment. But until then, we all have this. So if you think about that, and what we have to do is to accept it, and maybe try to find a way to use it, just like this farmer did, and then accept it, and then focus on the good aspect of that. So when you follow these guidelines, actually, we'll be able to maintain our relationship, and we will have less chances to get hurt from our relationship, but we'll be able to help and nurture each other. So do you remember the 4 guidelines? One is treat every person as from the perspective of samsaric journey. We all are samsaric beings, happen to cross each other's path in this lifetime. So we are deeply grateful for that. We appreciate, we treasure that, but we know that this is temporary. And then we have to respect each and every individual's preferences, their karmic baggages. The second one is to understand the being attached, being grasped, being on, being feeling like that person belongs to me is not really love. It is the attachment. That attachment is hurtful, is burdensome, and is stressful, not relaxed. And therefore, we have to transform it to genuine love, which is more freedom and more remember in the example of butterfly. Right? And then, when you come to our family members and friends, remember the upekha. There's always a limit how much we can do to anyone. Sometimes we want to help someone so badly, but they're not ready. What to do? We just keep the door open, but we accept that person's karmic baggage, and then wait. Someone may be sick, severely sick. We really want that person to recover, but there's always a limit what we can do. So we accept it. We are ready. We do whatever best we can, but we accept it and come into equanimity. And then the last one is to remember everyone is a package, good and bad, and accept both. And be grateful to good side, and then accept the bad side. And always focus on the good aspect of that person, and relate to that person in that way, so we can maintain our relationship without any troubles. So I hope that so that way we can actually care for our family. If you relate to our family and friends in that way, actually our family will not become a burden for our spiritual growth. In fact, our family environment will be a good training ground for our practice, because we get a chance to practice upekha, equanimity. We get a chance to purify our love, moving from attachment to love. And definitely, I didn't talk about patience. Our family is the best training ground for us to practice our patience. How patient you became after you become a parent. And how patient you became after you become a wife and husband, right? It took a while, but now how patient you are, right? So it's a training ground. So therefore, I remember, in one of the retreats, at the end of the 1 week retreat, one person asked from the meditation teacher, how do I really know that I have some progress in this meditation practice, that I truly change and have some progress? How do I know that? And the teacher said, okay, if you really want to know whether you have changed with any progress, just go and live with your family or in-laws in a week. And just go and live with your family a week, maybe live with your in-laws a week. Then you will know exactly, is there any change, any progress happened to your life. Because that's the full training ground. You will be tested in every ways in the family environment. Whether you have mindfulness, patience, acceptance, forgiveness. All these are the qualities that we develop in a retreat, right? So if you really want to know whether you have made any progress, the best way to test it, go back to family and live with them and see how you will react, how you will respond, how you will interact. That will tell you whether you have made any progress. Therefore, our family can be really a training ground and also testing ground. So it's not a burden in that sense, if you know how to manage that. So I wish that may your family be not a burden for your spiritual growth, may your family be a training ground for you, and may you grow with your love.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Sadhu, and thank you very much, Bhante, for that very insightful, informative, and just very inspiring talk about how we can relate more skillfully and wisely to our family members. Sadhu. So right now we would like to open the floor for questions and answers. So brothers and sisters, if you have a question, please raise your hand and we'll bring the microphone to you. Any questions?
Maybe they are afraid to ask questions because they are with their family members.
No worries. This is a safe, non-judgmental space, and as we know, it's good to clarify any doubts, especially when we have Bhante here.
For the benefit of others too, not only for oneself. Yeah.
Precisely. Yes, sister.
Thank you. Bhante, now the younger parents will say that don't discipline my children. Your time and my time is different. I discipline my own children, so you don't discipline my children. How do you comment on that?
So younger parents are telling to grandparents, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the parents has the most big responsibility to raise children, right? So I think they can ask help, from others, but I think if they are willing to take the responsibility, what we can do, right? So ultimately we cannot. If they are, maybe we have to make sure that they are doing a good job. But maybe I think maybe they are saying that time is different, so maybe the way that we should raise children in this environment may not be the same as before. But I think we should give them some wisdom. What are the good things that we can learn from our traditional upbringing? Mainly, in our traditional upbringing, we have a deep respect for elders. And then like respecting elders is a great virtue that can really guide and help anyone to live their life. So those things are actually usually lose in these days because we talk about equality and not we think that that respecting others is not necessary. But I think for mental health and for a good upbringing, that concept of respecting, elders and others is so important. So those things are kind of missing in the modern way of upbringing children. So we can only educate the young parents, but we really cannot intrude, the way of upbringing. So they will learn their own lessons. Interestingly, for the human being, there's no training to be parents. You learn it while doing it. So everyone, this is interesting, right? There's no way of training to become parents. Suddenly you become a mom, suddenly you become a dad, and now, okay, now what we can do? So then you just, then of course the best thing will be to ask your former parents because they have gone through it. So if they are willing to get more advanced knowledge, if they want to if they want some help, not to learn from trial and error method, get some advice from their own parents, then we should be able to give that guidance. But if they're not ready, let them be trial and error what to do, right? So that is common humanity. We are not trained to be parents, but we become parents and we just learn by doing it, and learning what works, what doesn't work. But if we have some help from our previous parents and grandparents, it will be really, really helpful. But it's up to them either to get that help or go through the painful way. Be equanimous. Upekha.
Thank you.
Good evening, Bhante. In the context of your discourse, how do you deal with losing a family member? How do you deal with that in the context of your speech?
Thank you, brother, for bringing that out. This is definitely relevant to this topic. Yeah, I think the losing a family member can be really difficult moment in our life, and so I think feeling sad, feeling grief is not abnormal. It's normal. It's being human. Being so we should allow that grief to experience. We shouldn't feel upset. We shouldn't feel guilt just because we are sad. Just because we are grieving. That is normally being human. But from the practice of Dhamma, we can manage that grief and we can rise above that grief. And there's a whole sutta called what do you call it? Soka Salla Harana Sutta, the sutta on the removing the dart of grief, explaining how exactly we can remove the dart of arrow of grief. So that is a very specific sutta, how to remove your grief. So therefore, we have enough techniques to go beyond, rise above the griefs. Therefore, it's normal to feel grief, but we have tools from the Buddha to go beyond that. So we have to use them. So one method to rise above the grief is gratitude. So whenever we lose a family member, whenever we remember that family member, we feel grief, we feel missing. Why we feel that missing, that pain, that grief, that person is no more with me. And that means that we wish that person is with me now. But I don't have now, so I feel grief. So the reason that we feel grief is because of desire. Because of the craving to be with that person. So that means we ask that person more. That person has passed away, but we say that you haven't given me enough. You haven't spent time with me enough. I want more. That is why we feel sad. If you really deeply analyze it, that the reason that we feel sad or grief is that we are missing something. We want something. We have chanda. We have grasping. We want something. What we want is more of that person. We want more of that person. That is why we feel grief and sad. But if we can come to a point that I'm so grateful that I had time with this person, I'm so grateful whatever time I had with that person, and this is enough. I don't ask any more from that person. Whatever the parents, that time that they spend with me, whatever they have given me is enough. Whatever my partner has given me, whatever time that person has spent with me is enough. I'm so grateful, so grateful for that time and for that help. I don't want any more. So whenever we feel grief, if we can turn our mind quickly to gratitude. The gratitude means contentment and then feeling deep appreciative and grateful. When you feel grateful, we can gradually overcome our grief. That we don't wish more of the person, but we are deeply grateful for whatever time and gift that we have from that person. So whenever we feel grief, quickly turn to gratitude and then think about and feel grateful and just even say, I'm so grateful, I'm so grateful. And then, because gratitude and grief cannot stay at the same time in the mind. Our mind can only have one thought at a time. It can change from moment to moment, but at one moment we only can have one thought. But if you replace, whenever we feel grief and we feel missing, we feel, that vacuum, if we can quickly think, okay, I had a good time with that person, and I had so much good time, and I'm so grateful, and then we'll be able to overcome. So I think that's one way we can deal with, loss of a family member. Feeling grateful, gratitude.
Thank you.
We have time for maybe one or two more questions. I think maybe I have a question, Bhante.
Yes.
So since we are sort of like on board with the fact that our family members are basically just beings that we happen to have closer affinity with
Yes.
in our samsaric journey.
Yeah.
But in terms of mending maybe soured relationships with our maybe siblings, do you think that at what point do we start to accept the product of causes and conditions and just look at the situation with equanimity rather than trying to put in more and more and more effort to mend the relationship that is seemingly kind of like unsalvageable?
Yeah.
I mean, this is a hypothetical question.
Yes. Yeah, I think, of course, I think, I think this relationship with siblings is interesting. I mean, any relationship, like parents' relationship can be started with unconditional love and then turn into, possessiveness. And then a romantic relationship, a partner relationship can start with, genuine, interest in each other's well-being, and then can turn into controlling other party. Siblings relationship can also start with a strong bond, like in childhood, strong bond and support each other, and then can be turned into rivalry or jealousy. That's common. So things can happen. Yeah. So I think as people who really want, at least as practitioners, Dharma practitioners, we should try our best to amend the relationship. I think we should never stop trying. Being equanimous doesn't mean that we give up trying. So it's a different way of trying. So, I mean, usually when you try too much, like we try to approach that person, we try to communicate that person, we try to send gift to that person, we try to talk to that person through other people. If we try too much, maybe we try to control it. But I think the being equanimous is that understand the limitation, also understanding that maybe relationship may be amended, but not to the speed that I think it should happen, because it can have its own way, and the other person may take time to understand. So we cannot really control when that person will get it. So therefore, we should keep trying, at least being amicable, being friendly, and from our part, we never give up, but we don't try too much, but we always able and we don't give up. But accepting the successful result or unsuccessful result, but never give up trying, or never give up that wanting to amend the relationship, and just have that openness, and then do whatever we can. If we happen to meet, during Chinese New Year, just be friendly, yeah. Don't try too much and try to be extra friendly, but just being friendly. And then we never give up. So equanimity doesn't mean we give up, but we just accept the result and keep trying, keep being open.
Thank you, Sadhu Bhante, for that skillful response.
Yes.
Bhante, but for those who are, let's say, lend a listening ear to a sympathetic friend, I mean, let's say you try to be a good listener, listen to people's problems.
Yes.
Then how to let go of that problem instead of that problem can be your problems.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So we call it compassion fatigue. That is the name of that name for that. Compassion fatigue. Yeah. I mean, you get really fatigued. I think that is common challenge that many therapists are going through. They are training how you can actually get rid of that. Yeah, brother, it's a real challenge. It requires a very, very strong level of mindfulness. Because, when we hear someone's problem, we have to be empathetic. We really have to, listen to that suffering. We really have to feel that person's suffering. We really have to understand where that person is coming from. We have to be in that person's shoe to really give even advice. So it really investment of our time and attention from our part. But then the issue is that, it's okay to have that level of attention, that level of empathy while we are listening to that person. The problem is when we finish the session and how much we carry along with us. That is the issue. So therefore, I think that is where in order to be a good listener, but also not being exhausted, we need a very strong practice of mindfulness to watch our own mind. And so if you are not a good meditator, it's very difficult for you to be a good listener and then being able to drop. Because in meditation, one important skill we develop is to watch our own thoughts and emotion and being ability to drop it. So if, for example, if you are doing meditation, doing on breathing, we pay attention to breath, and definitely there are other thoughts, memories, those things keep coming, and we train this skill, we notice them, and instead of developing them into further and more stories, we learn to lose them and drop them. Dropping the thought is such a great skill. So when you train that in meditation, and so let's say we keep listening to someone and you try to understand it and to give them some guidance and support, and then once everything is over, and we may have like echoes of those suffering, and when these things comes, we should train that ability to drop the thought. Just remind ourselves that it's gone. It is gone. If I talk to that person again, he will say completely different kinds of sharing. So we tend to give more permanency. Tend to give more solidity, more value to our previous memories and experiences. So with training of mindfulness, we can notice them and then realize, that person that is gone. It's not right now happening, and it's gone. That condition may have completely changed now. So just keep dropping it, keep dropping it, keep dropping it. So we can't do it without a strong training of mindfulness. Yeah. So we have to be a good meditator. You have to meditate a lot if you want to be a good listener and therapist. Yeah. Okay.
Do we have one more question from the floor? Because the session will end at 9:30, so actually we can take a few more questions if Bhante is open to that. All
I think
questions.
if there are no questions, they can go to sleep with their family very peacefully.
Yeah.
Yes,
Actually,
yeah.
Bhante, just now you raised a very powerful point about gratitude, right? And just being content and grateful for the time that you have spent with a loved one, and not expecting more of that, accepting things as they are, seeing what has transpired as enough. So in that case, then when it comes to decision to, let's say, enter into a romantic relationship, isn't that a form of craving that goes against that principle of gratitude? Because it's like it in romantic relationship, it usually asks for more.
Yeah.
It asks for certain things to be a certain way, and
Yeah.
both parties have to make compromises and all of that. So so in that sense, does entering into or pursuing a romantic relationship, even if it is healthy and non-toxic, is it supportive for our spiritual cultivation as a layperson?
Yes. I think, romantic relationship is very human, very base, like very base level of human. So we don't have to like cultivate any good qualities to have a romantic relationship. It's built into our system. It's very basic human need and very, very basic human nature. So therefore, we don't have to have a special training for that. So therefore, so we cannot. So it's definitely, entering into a romantic relationship is not a spiritual practice, but simply, addressing a human need, very basic human need. So we cannot blame anyone for that. Of course, whole human society, humanity is based on that, relationship. But I think when you think about the contentment and gratitude, we can actually we start a romantic relationship in fulfilling, addressing a human need, but then we can make that romantic relationship a source of stress and source of burden, and if you do not know how to and then move from that, so we start it and how to maintain that, right? So therefore, I think the entering into romantic relationship simply means fulfilling human need. It's not necessarily like discontent, because you may be fully content with your parents' love, but still you need a romantic love, and that's a human need. Yeah. But within the human romantic relationship, we can make it such a smooth, such a peaceful relationship if we include some of the appreciation, some of the gratitude to that, and then maybe reduce too much of expectations. But normally, when normally in romantic or any other household relationship, there's too much expectation from the other party. But the more expectation we have, the more opportunity for us to suffer and get disappointed. So maybe we can reduce expectation. Yeah. So we can be appreciative, and then even in a romantic relationship, if we start to appreciate each other and appreciate whatever time that person has, maybe that person doesn't have an hour to spend with me, but that person just try to manage the schedule and spend 15 minutes with me. And then if we can appreciate that rather than complaining the other 45 minutes that the person didn't spend with me. So I think even if we can purposely try to include gratitude and appreciation, our romantic relationship can be somewhat healthy and peaceful. So it's not definitely romantic relationship is not a support for a spiritual growth, but it may not be a hindrance if you know how to handle it. And the best example is the relationship between Siddhartha and Yashodhara, right? And how they support each other as a spiritual journey. Even they start their relationship as romantic relationship, but they grow beyond it and they support each other. Yeah. So it's not a support, but it doesn't have to be a burden. It can be a burden, definitely, because of a grasping, craving, and attachment, but we can convert it to a supportive relationship.
Thank you, Bhante.
Good evening, Bhante. Your insights about we don't remember, don't care about our last parents, last life, or we don't care about our last
Children.
last
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
So there are two school of thought here. Number one, our parents put a very beautiful tombs graveyard for us to pray on the 7th month, 4th month, and anniversary. The another school of thought don't even need to do that because we have transfer merits, right?
Yeah.
Those beings will receive the merits. Is it okay to follow the new school of thought? Just throw it on the sea, the after cremations.
Okay.
Because it's so against our Chinese tradition
Yes,
of you must have
Yeah.
Qingming, you must have a death anniversary celebrations or family reunion together. No, is it dangerous to have a new school of thought?
Yeah. It will be dangerous to have new school of thought if you get rid of the element of gratitude. The one good thing that we can develop by following these tombs and visiting these places is to maintain our gratitude and appreciation to previous generations who worked so hard for us. Like when you think about your parents and grandparents and great grandparents, how much hardships they went through. How many wealth they built with so much pain and difficulty, and now we are benefiting from their hard work. And they are not here to benefit from that, but we are benefiting. Therefore, we really have to have a deep gratitude to our previous generations of our ancestors. So therefore, I don't know whether you have to have a tomb for that. That may be a tool and help. Maybe we can come up with a method that we can still be grateful, not even having a tomb. Because in future, I think it will be really challenging to maintain tomb because of limited space, and so maybe some tablets or whatever. So I would say that the theme here is gratitude. Even though we throw ashes to the sea, doesn't mean that we are going to forget that person and completely go with our life without even thinking about that. Yeah, I mean, we may throw the ashes to the sea, but then we make sure that we do memorial services. We remember them. We do meritorious deeds in their name and dedicate the merits to them. But simply visiting a tomb will not necessarily benefit the ancestors, but it will benefit us to cultivate gratitude. But if we dedicate merit, that will help them too. So we can visit a tomb and make sure that you dedicate merits too. And simply visiting them doesn't really give them anything. Maybe who knows where they are now, right? So I would say maybe you can come up with a nice balance. yeah. So keeping the elements of gratitude, and then come up with a practice that's more practical and feasible in future. Because there will be scarcity of lands in future, so we have to come up with some creative method to do that. So maybe having even a picture, an image may help for us to develop gratitude and remember them. And yeah, so I would say try to combine both tradition, both systems, and come up with a creative method. Yeah.
Thank you, Bhante. Hi, Bhante.
Yes.
Just want to clarify one point. Just now you mentioned that we actually choose our parents, is it?
Yes, actually. I can explain. Yes. Let's say yes, but there's little more context to it. Yes. Yeah, we choose our parents. It's not the parents brought us here. We chose our parents and came to this world through them.
Okay, then my next question, right?
Yeah.
What about children who don't live until the full term? Like they're miscarried after the 3rd month or 4th month. What is then did they choose to live in that short space of time? Not to
or stillborn, you know?
Yeah. Yes, I think that's a very important question. Yeah. The reason that we again attached we will attach to another body, another organism, is that we have a strong craving for existence. We have craving to maintain our self identity. So when you Buddha explain the three forms of craving, one is craving for sensual pleasure, that be very obvious. Another one is craving for self existence, or craving for maintaining the self identity. We have that. And the third one is we also have a very weird kind of craving for self-destruction. Yeah. But anyway, so the main reason that we will attach to another body is that when our body collapses and mentally we are not ready to be dispersed, and we have strong craving to continue our self identity. So that is the main thing that push our process of consciousness, our process of mind to get to attach to another form, another base that we can continue that self, so-called constructed self. So therefore that craving will push us to attach something. But then which form that we will attach to, which we will go and drawn into, is not that free. It depends on our karmic energy, so and how we have shaped our current mind, and what kind of karmic energy we have will determine which kind of realm, which kind of form that we will be attracted to. And then thirdly, in addition to that, and then we have to have some affinity, that we feel comfortable to, let's say we have the bhavatanha, the craving for self-existence, is the main condition, main factor that push us to have another birth. We are getting reborn because we want, simply. And then where we will be born will be determined by our karma. So tanha will decide the fact that we are being born. The karma will decide where we will be born. And then there's another third element, which is our, the affinity, maybe our relationship. Let's say we have a karmic power to be born in the human realm. And among many wombs, the prepared or like ready fetus of many mothers' wombs, we will be attracted to one over the other. And that may be due to our, we feel some familiarity, some connection from our previous life, so we are being drawn to that. And your question is, sometimes maybe we are drawn to that person because we have some connection. And then when we are there, somehow the karmic energy of the parents and the karmic energy of the child is not matching. Because when you come to that family, and then your life is all pretty much determined, right? And what kind of, even your look and even your wealth, so many things are determined, environment. So sometimes the karmic energy of the incoming being is not perfectly matched with the current parents. And it's not only parents, it's like, maybe you are attached to your mother, but maybe not the father. Maybe you are attached to your father, but not to the mother. But somehow that karmic energy has to be matched. I think the explanation we can give from the Buddhist perspective, the reason sometimes the stillborns, maybe that can be due to health reasons too, because this not everything is driven by the karma. Could be that fetus is not healthy enough for that consciousness to grow. Maybe that consciousness has strong karmic power, but this fetus has some defects. So then definitely that the consciousness will live to be fine in a suitable fetus. So it could be some the problem with the fetus can also be the karmic energy of the family is not matching with the karmic energy of the incoming being.
Bhante, I have two questions.
Yes.
We believe in rebirth, right?
Yes.
So if the person who passed on, because he's being reborn, so what is all this transference of merits and all this, going to the womb and all those, going to the grave and pray?
Oh, you mean he already been born?
Yeah.
So there has already birth. So
Yeah.
what changes we can do to that life?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah. Okay. So, what is the what is the role? What the transference of merits does to a person, departed person, right? There's an interesting sutta in the Middle Length Discourses. I think there's a person called Janusani. He come and ask from the Buddha that if we perform all these memorial services to our departed ones, are they really going to benefit from that? It's the same question that you asked. And the answer Buddha gave, he said, they will benefit in certain conditions, they will not benefit in other conditions. That is the answer Buddha gave. And then he explained. Because what we are really doing by doing a memorial, dedication of merits, I think the transference of merits is a little bit misleading. We don't really transfer any merits, although we call it, and that's a common term now. What we are really doing is dedicating a meritorious deed and creating the opportunity for the departed ones to rejoice in this meritorious deed and create merits for himself or herself. That is what we are doing. Like, let's say I go and do a dana somewhere, and maybe I go and I go to Bodh Gaya and make some offering. I came back and I told my friends and my family members, this is what I did. I did this. I observed precepts. I did this dana. If the family members really listen to that and then really rejoice, oh, such a great thing you did. I'm so glad. And if you rejoice that very rejoicing become meritorious deed. So that person create merits for himself, herself by rejoicing our meritorious deed. That is exactly what we do to our departed ones, creating the opportunity for them to rejoice in our meritorious deed and generate merits for themselves. So, that is what Buddha said, that some departed relatives can do it, some departed relatives can't do it. Let's say we have the rebirth in the human realm. We are babies. And our children, our grandchildren are doing a lot of meritorious deeds and dedicate merits to us. Do we know about it? No, we are babies. We are enjoying the toys and other things. There are no attention to that, right? So they dedicate, but we don't rejoice. So they do their part, but we don't do our part. Therefore, there's no way that a human being can benefit from the previous one. But of course, we can rejoice in other meritorious deeds. And then if the person is born in the animal realm, no opportunity. So therefore, Buddha said that the two possibilities. If the person is being born in the ghost realm, Petha realm, and Petha realm coincide with our space. So therefore, they can witness what we are doing. So therefore, if the departed one is being born in the Petha realm, which is not the fortunate realm, and such beings really need help also. They particularly also expect help from the family members and friends, relatives. Therefore, if our departed relatives is being born in the Petha realm, a ghost realm, and then when we do a meritorious deed, and then we dedicate that this particular meritorious deed is done for you, and please rejoice this. And if the person pay attention to that, and he will be able to rejoice and be so happy that this is done for me, and I completely rejoice in that. And very rejoicing becomes such a powerful merit for that person. Either he can reduce his suffering that he's having in that realm, or he can be completely removed from that realm. So that is first possibility is the Petha. Second possibility. Second possibility is being born as a divine being. Because divine beings can also observe what the other beings are doing. So that is why we also share merits, dedicate merits to divine beings too. So if our departed ones is being born as a divine being, and when we dedicate our meritorious deed, if they pay attention, because sometimes they can be busy with their own issues too. Of course, divine realm has their own issues, and they have jealousy among each other. They have groups, it's not very different from human realm. Just that they have more pleasure, because they have more merits, they're more fortunate. But the Brahma realm is different, but I'm talking about the sensual divine realm. So if they pay attention and they can rejoice in our meritorious deeds, and they can increase. Particularly the divine beings, their lifespan is based on the power of the karma they have. And particularly when they rejoice in our good deed, the good karma, they can prolong their lifespan there. So that is why they really like to rejoice in others. Maybe they can prolong, they can extend their stay there. Yeah. So if our departed relatives is born as a divine being, they can also rejoice. So that's what Buddha said, that all our memorial services, when we do it, not all our departed relatives will be able to get benefit from it. Some will get it, some may not get it. But and then the same in the same sutta he asked, okay, what about all my departed ones are being born in the other realm that they cannot get? And Buddha said that, but there are relatives. There can be beings that who were your relatives, not in this life but previous lives. So they may be expecting some help. So Buddha said it's very rare that there will be no one in the realm of Peta and in the realm of Deva that they were not your relatives in your previous lives. Therefore, they will benefit it when we do that. Even though not the exact person that we want to benefit, but other relatives that that they are. So therefore, our dedication of merits is meaningful and can be beneficial. But that doesn't mean that all our departed ones will be able to benefit from that.
Yeah. Oh, my second question. I do get a comment thrown at me that says, "How can Buddha leave the baby and the wife?" So how do I explain in a short and a positive way?
Yeah.
Don't want to go into details.
Yeah.
Because these people who ask
Yeah.
is like,
Superficially they know the story. Okay, how to answer? I think, yeah. I think we have to say that this Yashodhara and Siddhartha, they got married quite early. They lived as husband and wife how many years? More than 10 years, 15 years they're together. They didn't have a child. They didn't have a child for 15 years of marriage, because they that is their decision. The reason that they decided to have a child is their decision. That's their plan. Because if this Siddhartha, who is heir to the throne, if he's simply missing, if he left the kingdom, that will create a whole disturbance in the kingdom, because that's how those days things were controlled. So at least if you have a heir to the throne, at least things will be settled. There will be no rival. There will be no other fighting. Things will be settled. So I believe that is their plan. The Yashodhara and but anyway, those are two deities for you. So you asked quick question, right? Quick answer. Yeah, you can say that Siddhartha left the baby and the wife because of their agreement. The wife and husband agreement. It was not a secret, leaving actually, their agreement. And then he left out of, he left for the goal that is noble, that even Yashodhara accepted as noble, and Yashodhara was ready to help to achieve this goal, because they were more concerned about larger humanity, not only his own family. So Siddhartha left the baby and the wife because of their prior arrangement and agreement. And then they were more concerned about finding the solution to the common problem of all living beings and humanity. That is why, as soon as Buddha found the solution, he returned home and shared this solution and then reunited with them and took the custody of the baby.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think it's also really noble that the Buddha came back and guided both Princess Yashodhara and Prince Rahula into arahantship. Who wouldn't want that, right? That would be the dream of, I guess, every family member. So much gratitude to the Buddha in this respect. Yes, Joe.
Wandami Bhante.
Yes.
Sorry, just a quick question.
Yes.
You say it was their agreement. Was it written in the sutta?
That's my theory.
Oh,
No,
okay.
I mean, okay, brother. We have a scarcity of sources when it comes to the prior life of the Buddha. Because when Buddha, when the Prince Siddhartha was having his childhood, living in this palace, who cared? Nobody kept record of him. What happened. So only that life becomes so important after you become enlightened. So therefore, what we have, mostly records we have about after the Buddha get attained enlightenment, and we have enough some records. But prior life we have only some glimpses. Even so, Buddha himself have reported how he lived his prince life, and in some of the suttas we find that. But we don't have much detail of because nobody kept record of his life. But then what happened later in the Buddhist tradition? When Buddhist tradition developed, you cannot have an imperfect record of a religious founder of a religion. So they had to fill it. So then we came with all kind of narratives and all kind of details, and then the Buddhist community is constructed a full story of the life of the Buddha, means mainly the prior life, but that's more later construction. But maybe using some of the whatever available rudimentary data. Really we have an issue of because nobody kept record of his early life. Yes. Yeah, your second question.
Understood. No, I don't have second question.
Yeah, okay. Was there any record of the? Okay. So there was. The reason I said that there was an agreement, right? And is there any record? Now there's no clear record of that, but I think I have enough reasons to what do you call? I have enough reasons to infer that. Because the relationship between Yashodhara and Prince Siddhartha is not only started in this life. They have been practicing together for many lifetimes. And Yashodhara was also interested in the same issues that Prince Siddhartha was interested in. And they were really have the same concern about old age, death, and these common human issues. So because they have been practicing for many lifetimes, and the reason they got together in this lifetime also because of the prior connection. And so if the Prince Siddhartha was so interested in those issues, it's very common sense that he might have shared that concerns with the Yashodhara, and they might have a lot of discussions, like 15 years of marriage. How many things you talk to each other? Is there any secret that you can hide from them? So 15 years of marriage, they might have shared so much things between them. And then the other reason is why they didn't have a child before. So anyway, so I think so those are the things we can infer that they had a good understanding what they did. It's not like the Prince Siddhartha left secretly. And according to suttas, Prince Siddhartha left while his parents were crying. It's not a secret leaving, but when they knew it's going to leave. For this particular search. So it's not clearly written like that, but maybe we have enough, reasons,
Yes, because the source are scarce. Right?
Yeah, scarce. Yeah. I
understood.
even have a theory, why he left on the very day that his baby was born, and because he wanted to make sure that he was a boy. That will solve the problem of the kingdom. He wanted to make sure that the baby was a boy, male.
Okay.
That will solve the problem of the kingdom. As soon as he got that, okay, that is solved, and now I can live.
I see.
Yeah, that's my theory. Okay, that's not written anywhere.
Understood.
Yeah, that's okay. Okay.
Because the context during that time,
Yes.
it's a feudal, so they need it.
Yeah.
Okay, understood, Bhante. Thanks for the clarification. That's all my question.
Okay. We don't know. Yeah.
But it's a very plausible theory, and yeah,
Yeah.
we can And it's a good way to explain to others as well who have doubts
Yeah.
with regards to the Buddha's decision and also the relationship between Prince Siddhartha and Princess Yashodhara.
Yeah.
So
I think when Buddha returned his home, his father gave a full report of Yashodhara to the Buddha, and important thing he said that is found in the early Pali sources, and he said that from the day that you left the palace, and Yashodhara also started to wear the rag clothes, just like because he became an ascetic. Yashodhara was also practicing the similar practices that ascetic Siddhartha was practicing. She leave her jewelries and other silk clothes, and she started to use rag clothes. And when she knew that ascetics are only eating once a day, and she started to eat only once a day, and he gave all full report. Actually, Yashodhara was also practicing the similar practices in palace, like in parallel with the ascetic Siddhartha. So it shows that they were actually the same concern and same issues they're dealing with. So they have to have an agreement and understanding.
yeah, thank you. Thank you, Bhante, for that. And this shows how important it is for, I think, couples to be attuned and aligned in terms of their Satta, Chagasila, and Panya.
Yes.
Which is in the Sama Jivina Sutta as well.
Yes.
But regarding that sutta, right, Bhante, in today's day and age, I think it's kind of difficult to find a partner who is attuned in those four aspects.
Actually, that's a good question. Actually, the guidance in the sutta is not to find a partner who's attuned, but once you're in a relationship, try to tune in your relationship. Because there's no perfect, people who are in the same level of generosity. People are differently, generous in different levels. That's how we are all individual beings, samsaric beings. So the guidance is not to find someone who's really matching, but once you are together, try to be tuned to each other. So, because for example, wisdom is not already there, then you keep learning. Whenever you have some understanding, you make sure that you share with the other, and you come into tune with each other. So it's an effort to come into tune.
I see.
Yeah.
So because everyone has their own anusayas and gati, asavas, so what if in the relationship, no matter how hard you try to tune, it just it doesn't quite hit the standard. So is that maybe a sign that they are not compatible?
Yeah, maybe we have to think about other qualities. Maybe definitely, we cannot have full perfection. If that, maybe you cannot come into tune. But how about other one? You have to consider the full package. So anyway, everyone has cracks.
Right. Yes. Once again, thank you very much, Bhante Pemarathana, for your wise answers to our questions, and thank you everyone for your participation. So we are at time now. So without further ado, we would like to offer 3 resounding sadhus to Bhante for Bhante's teaching. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Let us take a moment to have a moment of gratitude and appreciate and share whatever goodness we have generated with all others. As Buddhists, whenever we do a meritorious deed, we want to share, we want to create the opportunity for all many beings to be benefited from that. Let us now dedicate, by listening to this Dhamma and reflecting on the Dhamma and teachings of the Buddha, we have done a great meritorious deed. Let us dedicate and share this meritorious deed with all of our departed relatives. May all of them, wherever they may be, if they are in a position to rejoice in this meritorious deed, may they rejoice and may they be benefited from this meritorious deed. May they be well and happy wherever they may be. Idang mi ñātinang hotu sukhita huntu ñātayo. Idang mi ñātinang hotu sukhita huntu ñātayo. Idang mi ñātinang hotu sukhita huntu ñātayo. Let us also invite all the divine beings and any other being to rejoice in these meritorious deeds. May all living beings rejoice in our meritorious deeds. May all living beings be well, happy, and peaceful. Ittavata ca amhihi Sambhatam punya sampadam Sabbe deva anumodantu Sabba sampatti siddhya Sabbe bhuta anumodantu Sabba sampatti siddhya Sabbe sattha anumodantu Sabba sampatti siddhya Sadhu,
Sadhu,
sadhu.
sadhu, sadhu.